All right, string slingers, today it's time to level up our G chord. So let's get right to it. G major. Don't forget to try these off your bar chords too. Figure them out. Once I explain to you how we get these different chords, try to come over and figure them out. Usually it can be done by shifting a finger or two, or 7. G major, G major. The king of all cowboy chords. Yee-hoo! G major, G minor. How do we get a G minor? Well, we take the third of the chord and we flat it. Now, very few people play this form of the chord. We usually play a G minor bar chord. So here's our major chord. Then we're going to take this middle finger, and we're going to remove it. G minor, major, that's a difference in the chord. All right, G minor 7th. G minor 7th. Well, we know the minor chord has the flatted third. So here's our bar chord for G minor, no middle finger, same as the major chord. Take the middle finger out. We've looked at that already, right? But we're going to get that flatted 7 into the minor chord. We need to get that F into our G minor chord. Let's take this F right here. We could take this form of the G minor chord. It's like this bar chord, but take these out and then just drop this down, grab these top 3, and then reach up and grab the F right there. There's a G minor 7th. Now we could put the low G in too, and then we'll get this sound. We're muting the A string. We're deadening it. I use this form all the time for my minor 7th chord. Great sounding chord. And then, sub that in for a regular G minor chord in a song you're writing or in a song you're playing. So if you're going from F to G minor in your song, try subbing in the G minor 7th. Here we go. Reach up and grab the 9. So you got a G minor 7, add 9. What a gorgeous chord. Let's sub that in. So we've got the 2 minor resolving back to the 1, which is very nice. How about G major 7th? That is, we take the 7th of the G major scale and stick it into our chord. Just jam it right in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. F sharp, which means we've got to get an F sharp into our G chord. How do we do's that chord? We do's it just like this. So we've got our G. We're muting this A string. We're laying our finger over it really lightly here so that it doesn't sound. Right? Then we've got our F sharp, which is the 7th note, the major 7th note we're getting into the chord. And we've got our 3rd, B. Then we've got our 5th, D. And then that's it. We don't have to sound this high G. Beautiful chord. I call that the McCartney chord. when I go away. Okay, you know who uses that chord a lot too? Hall and Oates. Well, maybe it's just Hall. I don't know what the hell Oates is doing. All right, so we've got the G major 7th. Now how about the G7 chord? Well, it's the same as the G major 7th, except we're gonna take that F sharp, which is the 7th note of the G major scale, and we're gonna lower it a tone. We're gonna flat it a tone from F sharp to F. So, we lower these notes and stick them in the chords in order to create more tension, usually because we're going to a 1 chord. We're going home to a 1 chord, and we want that resolve. We want that tension build up, and then we're going home. If we were in the key of C, G would be the 5 chord, and the 5 chord usually goes home to the 1 chord at the end of a song or at the end of a cycle of a progression. So if we were in the key of C and we played G7 and then we went home to C, listen to how beautiful the tension and resolve is. As opposed to if we just played a regular G major chord. Not as resolvey as this. We get that G7th chord with the flat 7 in there. The G major 7th has the 7th right out of the major scale. The G dominant 7th, or G7, has the flatted 7. So, well, we can get it in 2 ways. If we're looking at the bar chord, we can reach up here and grab that F with our little pinky dude. With our little wee 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 all the way home. Well, that's our toe, but we can't get that in. So here we go. Or we play the G major chord and we just lift our pinky out of it. And then we get ourselves a nice G dominant 7th chord, G7th chord. But I prefer this here version. This position. So it's like our G major chord, except we're getting rid of these fingers. And then we're gonna refinger these 2 over here. And then all we're gonna do is grab no other notes, none more notes, except this right here, F. This pinky do nothing. That's why he's going wee wee wee. Oh. All right, so reform those, grab that F. All the other strings are open. All right, so far we've got G major, G minor, G major 7, G minor 7. Now how about G6? Well, what's the 6th note of the G major scale? Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It is E. We play our G chord here. We lift our pinky off just like on the D chord we did this. And we have that open E. Now what if we're over here on the bar chord? Well, here's an E. So we reach down with our pinky and we grab that E. Major, 6th. And remember we had our 7th right there. Now we got something to play with here. Ha, now we're getting somewhere. And we're gonna see, while we're at it, let's just do it. Why don't we grab right here the 9 or the 2, right? The 2 is the 9. A. So now we've got these 3 to mess with. that's good. All right, let's look at two more of these, the G sus2 and the G sus4. Remember in our leveling up our D chord video, we looked at these two chords as well from the D perspective, and we said that a sus chord is when you suspend the third of the chord, the third note in the scale that's in the chord. You get rid of it, you throw it in the garbage, it's out of there, it's gone. We take it out of there, we don't like you anymore. And then we replace that third with the second, so a suspended 2. Or we replace it with the fourth, a suspended 4. So let's look at G sus2. We're getting rid of the third and we're replacing it with the 2, and in the key of G, that's the A note. 1, 2 is A. How do we get that A in there? Right there. We reach up and we grab it right there. Okay? But we still have the third in the chord, and we don't want that. So we want to let this A, this open A ring out. So we're just going to remove this finger, and we're going to grab that A up here. So we got an A here and an A here. So we're going to take this out, we're going to grab that, and then okay, now what about our sus4? Well, I like doing that off the bar chord here. So here's our G major, and then we reach down to get our fourth, C. We're going to add that C into the chord. So here's the third of the chord, here's the 4. We're going to get this sound in the chord, or more like this. Just sounds like a 38 special tune already, doesn't it? That's because they use this technique a lot, as do countless other bands. G major chord, then we're going to play off the sus4, the 4 and the 3. Now, if we move to the C chord and we play a little progression in the key of G, and we do that to each of these chords, we got ourselves a rock and roll tune, or southern rock tune. Now when I did it off this version of the bar chord, from the 5th string version, here's C. What is the 4th note out of the C major scale? F. Here's an F. Here's the chord. So I just grab that F and I get myself a sus4 chord. Used all the time. Just sounds so Rick Springfield-y, doesn't it? All right, let's look at some tricks we can do with the G chord in this here position. Just like we did with the D chord, and like we're gonna do with a lot of our chords, we're gonna ask, how can we move our fingers around? Lift this off, put this on, grab this up here, grab this down here, grab a bass note. What can we do to manipulate this chord all around us? That was no good. I like to do a lot of this country kind of stuff. It depends on how you play it and how you phrase it, but with the lower notes, leaving these 2 notes on the top of the G chord and then the open G string leaves me with a G chord on just those 3 strings. Sound like a banjo, right? And now I've got this finger, these fingers free to Here's another cool trick to do off of the G chord, but you can do this off of any chord that's using this D form. So here we have D, here we have E, whatever this note is the root chord. So if it's here, it's D, if it's here, it's E, if it's here, it's F, F sharp, and so forth, G. So many things you could do off this form that I use constantly. Think of Red Barchetta from Rush, for example. Another thing I like to do sort of Hendrixy stuff. We'll take this form of the G, we'll leave this out for now, and we'll just grab the root and the fifth, the D, and then we'll hammer down right onto the E, which is the sixth. E. That's such a great sound. And then grab the B here, which is the third. And then grab the fourth up here, which is the C, and get this sound. I use that in my soloing a lot. So if there's a... What are we doing there? Well, we're taking this form of the G chord again, and we're playing just these two notes here, the root and the third, the G and the B. And then we're moving it up here now, playing the C, right, which is the fourth of G, and the A, which is the 2 or the 9. So we're just playing notes from the G major scale. Grabbing the B again up here, and the D, which is the fifth. So you've got all that to work with off that G. You could play them as single note lines. Another thing I like to do a lot off this form of the G chord. Right, which is just this form of the G chord. It's the same as the bar chord, except you're taking out this root note and you're taking out this fifth, and you're playing the rest of it just here, which is very movable. I like to take this finger out, and now you're left with these three notes: the root, the fifth, and the third. I like to hammer on from like a G minor to a G major. You've heard that a million times, that sound. So experiment with that stuff. Have fun. See you next time, string slingers, for the A chord.